Recently, Amazon Game Studios revealed that Lost Ark would be delayed into the first quarter of 2022. This is so the game doesn't inhibit the potential success of New World, as it wouldn't be an ideal situation to have Lost Ark, which is one of the most anticipated MMOs of the last several years, outperform an MMO that Amazon have been actively developing in-house for just as long. Mortal Online 2 revealed early this morning that they were delaying the release of their game into January 2022. It's unlikely Blue Protocol will be releasing in 2021, given how close we are to the end of the year. Project BBQ, to the surprise of absolutely nobody at all, hasn't released any information pertaining to the game. Corepunk was delayed into 2022 as well. A lot of MMOs slated for release in 2021 have been delayed. But that does not mean that we don't still have a few more coming, and that is what we're here today to talk about. The remaining MMOs yet to come in 2021 for those of you that are still looking for something new to play. Now, before we go any further, is there an MMO that you've been wanting to play but you just couldn't afford? Because I got you covered. I'm giving away a single copy of any MMORPG that you want. All you need to do to win a copy is scroll down, click that like button, subscribe to the channel because these giveaways are only for our active subscribers, and leave a comment stating what MMO you want and why you want it. It's that simple. I'll announce the winner over on Twitter later this month. Also, did you know that we will actually be streaming over on Twitch in just a few hours? We stream every Tuesday, every Saturday, and every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single week. So come on and join us. We would love to have you. Now, let's talk about what we have to look forward to for the remainder of this year. So, we have had quite a few releases in 2021 already. PSO2 New Genesis launched 3 months ago, Swords of Legends Online launched 2 months ago, and Bless Unleashed launched just last month. With new MMOs seemingly launching every single month, it looks as though we won't have a shortage of things to keep ourselves preoccupied with. This month in specific, Amazon Game Studios revealed that we will finally, after years of delays, after repeated setbacks, be able to play New World. New World is a very, very large budget open world MMORPG that was built as more of a survival game originally, with an emphasis on PvP that has been drastically altered over time to provide players a much deeper PvE experience filled with dungeons, world content, crafting, and survival elements. This game had over 100,000 concurrent players playing at literally every point during its last few beta tests, likely selling millions of pre-orders before the game was even ready to play. This might be the first time in a long time that a Western MMO actually succeeds in captivating the MMO market by providing something unique, something that actually has the potential of retaining player interest long term. New World is an open world PvP MMO that utilizes an action combat system, meaning that PvP requires more in terms of reflex and timing for parries, dodges, and blocks. Honestly, the game looks pretty damn good graphically, providing some beautiful aesthetics in terms of environments. Player models aren't bad, and the combat itself isn't either. It's just, I don't know, significantly slower than what I'm used to with regards to action combat, and honestly that appeals to a lot of players, with them going on to claim that it's much more Souls-like for those of you that have played the Dark Souls games. New World releases on September 28th, 2021 and will be a buy-to-play title, requiring players pay a one-time fee to play. Then we have Elian, an open-world action MMORPG that was being built initially as a tab-target steampunk-inspired MMO scheduled to release years ago. Elian is being developed by Bluehole Studio, the very same people behind the quality Terra title. And I say quality here because while the game in its current incarnation might suck, especially by today's standards, during the first year or two of the game's life, Terra was an incredibly fun MMO to play. Elian was originally built as Ascent Infinite Realm, a Korean MMO set predominantly within the skies. Aerial travel, aerial combat, flying between large archipelagos was a key aspect of the game. Everything took place above ground, providing players a very unique experience that isn't replicated anywhere else. But after repeated complaints from Korean players, Bluehole scrapped this idea and turned what was a unique aerial steampunk premise into your standard fantasy MMO, which honestly isn't a bad game in any capacity. As a matter of fact, it's kind of fun in its own unique way. Interestingly, Ascent Infinite Realm was a free-to-play MMO. However, after converting to Elian, Kakao, the publisher for Elian in the West, announced that the game was converting to a buy-to-play business model much like New World. Earlier this month, however, Kakao once again changed their minds. This was likely due to the poor pre-orders for the game, and they decided that they will instead once again be launching as a free-to-play title. Elian features a faction system, with the two factions being able to engage one another in open world PvP, and from what I could tell, enemy players could attack you pretty much anywhere at any time with the exception of safe zones. The action combat that Elian utilizes is one of the better action combat systems releasing this year. I dare say that the only release this year that can compete with it is PSO2 New Genesis. Not only is the combat fast and fluid, it's also flashy, something that I personally like to see out of an MMO that I will spend most of my time fighting in. Elian releases on October 20, 2021 and will be a free-to-play title, meaning that players can log in and play this without any fees whatsoever. Final Fantasy XIV has been around for years. I feel like almost a decade at this point, I think, right? And right now, it is the most populated MMORPG on the entire market. And while this is not in any way a new game, it is releasing a brand new expansion later this year, which is probably larger in scale than your average MMO. Final Fantasy XIV is a tab target fantasy MMORPG developed and published by Square Enix. This game has enthralled the MMO scene with beautiful graphics, a deep, compelling narrative, and okay, well, there are plenty of people that dislike the game's combat, but I honestly think as someone who plays at endgame that it's actually pretty good. The latest expansion, Endwalker, is the continuation of the critically acclaimed Shadowbringers expansion, continuing and ultimately ending the story that we have been playing through for so many years now. Endwalker not only marks the end of something as important as the current story, but it begins a new journey that we will all get to experience together. We can expect the same polish, the same depth, the same level of content to play through, a multitude of expansive new zones, gorgeous new main cities, new classes, massive class overhauls, rebalancing, a continuation of the narrative, and most importantly, new glamour items. I dare say I am aware that New World is going to sell a lot of copies if it hasn't already, but Final Fantasy XIV's Endwalker expansion is by and far the most anticipated release of 2021. This is going to sell millions of copies and will likely be the Wrath of the Lich King expansion for its respective IP. Final Fantasy XIV is an enormous open world, albeit with segregated zones, tab target MMORPG that features an entrancing story unlike you have ever encountered in the MMO scene. Yes, it definitely has an issue with pacing at lower levels, but if that's something that you can get past, you get to experience what is arguably the pinnacle of the genre. Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker releases on November 23rd, 2021, and will require a purchase like every other expansion, followed by a monthly recurring subscription, as this is one of the two MMOs that still actively require an active subscription to play. Lineage W is an upcoming cross-platform MMORPG launching onto both PC and mobile devices. Unfortunately, from what I've seen, this is a largely mobile MMO that was developed specifically for mobile devices that is being simultaneously launched onto PC via NCSoft's Purple platform. After watching the various different trailers for the game and reading into it, and even covering it in extensive detail, it's evident the type of game that this will ultimately end up being, and I can say with certainty that our community of PC MMO players are going to very strongly dislike it. The game is entirely autoplay, as one would expect from a cross-platform MMO with a focus on mobile. It auto-paths you to objectives, it engages in encounters without any input from the player whatsoever. Sure, the game at times looks pretty good, but so do a lot of mobile exclusive titles from their trailers as well. Lineage W releases globally in 2021 at a yet undisclosed time and will be be a free-to-play title, meaning that players can play without any type of fee. And that's pretty much it for confirmed full MMO releases. Now, there are going to be various different alpha and beta test phases for a plethora of different MMOs, like Fractured's upcoming alpha test later this month, Corepunk's upcoming closed beta test later this year, in what was supposedly confirmed to be December, and so much more. 2021 has honestly been a pretty good year for MMOs. Yes, we haven't had a breakout MMO yet like we have in previous years, a game like Blade and Soul or Black Desert in their respective years, but that doesn't mean that these games or any of the games released this year will not stand the test of time. We have plenty of games to look forward to in 2022. I will cover those separately soon enough, but nevertheless, we will be plenty preoccupied over the coming months with multiple new releases to hold our attention until something new releases. 2021 was a good year for MMOs, and 2022 looks to be a good year to look forward to. Which of these MMOs are you most looking forward to playing in 2021 though, and what are you most anticipating playing in 2022?
Someday soon, I'm gonna make